Hello guys. Welcome to my channel. I Connect. Um, where we basically talk about firewalls, and right now we're talking about the Palo Alto firewall. Uh, from our last class, we basically had a little bit um introduction to what a firewall does. To be precise, the Palo firewall. So today we just want to take a step further to go into the firewall, do some analysis or explanation, and hopefully we can make some more configuration um, to see how the firewall works um, in in production. So, like we said last time, the Palo Alto firewall is one of the next generation firewalls, and we talked about why it's called a stateful firewall. We explained all that. Like I said, today we will go into um, some other details about the firewall. Hopefully, we can talk about the types of interfaces, uh, the type of interfaces that the Palo has. We can talk about the virtual wire. We can talk about the layer 2 interfaces. We can talk about the layer 3 interfaces. We can talk about a VLAN interface, what that does, which has to basically do the VLAN interfaces has to do when you combine a bunch of layer 2 interfaces together and you turn them into a layer 3 interface. Yeah, so we talk about that both today. We'll go into the virtual wire configuration and to see how important this is, and so we can go from there. So we go into the firewall, which is configured as uh, a 192. I think this should be a 4. It's a .4 configuration management interface. So will we go to the GUI for us to have access to the management assigned to the IP address assigned to the management port. So which is the 192.168.2.4. So our username is admin and our password is this, right? So let's just do a little bit of breakdown of this firewall. Then we can go into some other details. So we do not have a default gateway. We can just go. We can do that. We can do that. We can do that right now on the GUI, where we go to the device. We go all the way to setup, right, and we go to management. Oh, sorry, we go to management interfaces, and we can assign the IP addresses there, or we can use the the party to do that by using the 192.168.2.4, right? So all we have to do is say yes here, and then we sign into the admin, and we put in a password, and so from on the CLI we can do that. This is what we call the operation, the operational mode in Panorama. This has to show this basically to show where you use a lot of visual command to see what is configured in the firewall and all that. So for me to move from the operational mode to configuration mode, I have to tap the word config and I say enter. So this is the configuration mode. So I can say set device config system system default gateway. You can give it a 192.168, like maybe like a 2.6, right? And that is it, right? We can also give this firewall a name if we choose to. We can do all Palo. Then we can say we can give it a host name. Let's call it AK FW01. Yeah, just give it. We can also, there's so much we can do here, just to show you a few of what we can do. So if you go to the GUI, that configuration is not committed yet. So if you come to the GUI and there you see right now that this firewall has no gateway, it has no default gateway, and if you also check the name, if you check the name of this firewall, you can see it's right now called PAVM. We want to change that name. What else we change? I think those are just basic two changes we're making right now, and we can go and tap commit. Right. So we can just pause until this configuration is committed, then we can start the video, so we don't have long minutes for the configuration. So when this configuration is committed, then we can come back. So we are back now. We can see that this configuration is committed. So if we go to a file and refresh it, we should expect the name of this file to change to what we assign it to be as the AKF1001. And also, if we go to the interfaces, the gateway we gave the firewall should also be there, which is we gave the firewall the 2.6. I mean the management gateway to be 2.6. Okay, all right. So this is just the dashboard. The dashboard is just a brief, just a brief introduction to what the firewall is configured on, like this stuff like the management IP, the kernel model, of the firewall. Now, right now we're using PAVM. If this firewall is a PA 3060, 3020, we know all that. Also the serial number. You can go on and on. You can see with the global protect, all these we can see in the snapshot. The SSC is just basically giving us, this is also a snapshot of how the firewall is operates. We can check the head of that firewall to see what exactly is wrong with the firewall. The SSC, which we call the application command center, like I said, there's so much we can do here. There's so much we can do here. The SSC is just like when you have a car and you're basically reading through the dashboard. If the car has enough gas, if the engine light is on. So these kind of gives a snapshot of how the firewall has been, how the firewall operates, or this firewall is performing well or not. The monitor, this is more of a where we've talked about logs, policy, where you have to make your rules to allow or to deny certain traffic objects. It's where you create names, and then you talk about your security profiles and all that. We go into all these, the network, where you have to configure interfaces and all that, the device. This is also where like I said, there's so much we can do here. So for today, like I said, we try to configure the virtual wire. So so what we intend to do is that we intend to combine two interfaces for the flow of traffic. So we're basically saying that the virtual wire is a combination of two interfaces for the flow of traffic. So right now we have this interface to be a 1/1 and this interface to be a 1/2. Our intention is to combine these two interfaces into one interface for the flow of traffic. What we mean is that for this 10.0.0.9 host to be able to access the internet, That's our intention. So the virtual wire logically connects um, two interfaces together. Um, the virtual wire. We can use the virtual. We can actually deploy the firewall that is matched or that is assigned with the virtual wire into an environment. Right? We can integrate into an environment. The virtual wire also simplifies firewall installation. Um, the virtual wire deployment simplify um, firewall installation and configuration because we can insert firewall into an existing environment without assigning MAC or IP addresses. So what I'm trying to say is that a firewall that is assigned with a virtual wire interface can be deployed into the network without assigning any sort of IP addresses to these interfaces. Since basically it's not a layer two, it's not mapped as a layer three interface. So that also explains that. So if we go to the firewall to make a configuration, so intention, like I said, is to make this guy a virtual wire interface. So one of the things we have to do, number one, is that we have to create a zone, right? We can make this zone more like a virtual wire zone because in the virtual wire configuration, these interfaces will be on one particular subnet, right? So if we call or if we intend to call this zone we're configuring a virtual wire zone, it doesn't affect anything. Or if we choose to say trust and untrust, it doesn't also. That works as well. It doesn't matter because these two interfaces will be combined together into one, just like the logical, when we say 1 plus 1 equals to 2, with the virtual interface 1 plus 1 equals to 1, right? So these all configuration will be based on one subnet. So and we will also we configure the zone. We also configure the virtual wire, right? Then we also assign interfaces, right? And we make our rule. So that is what we're gonna do when it comes to the virtual wire. Like I said, we'll configure the zone, the virtual wire, the interfaces, and the rules, right? So we can now go to the firewall to make such a configuration. So we go back to the GUI, right? So the first thing we want to do is for us to go to network and configure the interface. That will be the zones. So we can call these zones. If we choose to call this zone like a trust zone, there's nothing wrong. If you say trust zone, there's nothing wrong. And then we mapped it as a virtual wire, we absolutely okay. And if we say that we want to call it on trust zone, right? And I want to map it as a virtual wire, we're still perfectly okay. And also we can call, both of these a virtual wire zone, a V wire zone, and I will still be perfectly okay and say is a virtual, and we'll still be fine. So regardless of wherever zone we configuring, all these are legit zones that we can use. So the other thing you want to do before anything is to go to the virtual wire on the network and create a name for our virtual wire. So we can call these V wire. We can call this virtual wire. It doesn't, virtual wire. And you can see that both of these interfaces now, there's nothing assigned to it. That is why we have none and none. The moment we assign the interfaces as a virtual wire, we should see them appearing on here. And so we say, okay. So we have a profile created for our virtual router. Our virtual wire, our virtual wires. So the next thing we want to do is to go to network and go to interfaces just to map those interfaces. So our 1/1, we said, if we go back to our topology, we said our 1/1 is the outside and our 1/2 is the inside. So we can say now that we can call this one. Let's go to the virtual wire interface. right? Virtual wire, or we can say wire interface, just so you know, just to have a clue of what we need to do. Virtual wire interface, and we say, you know, what interface is that? We can call it a virtual wire, and you know, virtual wire type, we can choose any of the zones that we created now. So this virtual wire type, right, is what we actually, you know, mapped here, right? That's the name we created here, the profile we created, we pick it there. Now, when we talk about the zones, we can pick any of this works, right? If we intend to go from trust to untrust, we probably okay. And if we decide to go this way, we okay. So, for instance, if we go to say we want to call this guy on trust because it's coming from outside, we can say outside. Okay, so you need to know it's coming from outside. So, on the advanced, we don't need to do anything there. We can say okay, right? Now we can say our inside is that you can see, maybe call this guy inside, right? And now we can map it as a virtual wire as well. And the virtual wire is a profile we created there. Then we just pick it. It's going to be there with the force, but with the force. And now we can call this one the trust zone, right? And for the advanced, there won't be anything there. And we can say okay, right? So the next thing we want to do is to go to the policy and make a policy. And our policy will be based on we can override this one, make it log at session end. You just want to see the laws when that particular handshake is established, right? So now we can add, and we can call this guy maybe rule one. We just call it rule one, or or VYR rule. I call it VYR rule, right? So here we can say it's coming from inside, and where is it going? It's going outside, right? So application is any, everything here seems to be any. So okay. So we do not need any NATs for this to work, right? I will just say we commit it. So once this guy is committed, we can go back to topology, making sure that this router is configured. So if we go to this router and check the configuration of the router, so what we intend to do is to make the host 10.0.0.1, right, is to make this particular gateway. So what we intend to do will be that we'll have a gateway here, which is going to be a 10.0.0.1. So the gateway of this 10.0.0.9 will be a 10.0.0.1. So the interface of this firewall, of this router, we have to be mapped as a 10.0.0.1 and also be NATed. So if we go to this router and check the configuration we have there. So here, by looking at this is a F1/0 interface. So let's see what that interface is, what we have configured for that interface. So if we say enable mode configuration, so we can say show IP interface brief. So our IP interface brief, we can see that our F1/0 is a 172.30.1, right? So we can just change that to be, so we can say we have to move to configuration mode. Then we can say interface F fast internet 1/0 no IP. I think it should be no IP add, right? Yeah. So we can now say IP add, IP add, no IP add 10.0.0.1 255.255.255.0. Then that interface, I believe it's not already. We can say do WR and see what happens. So from here, let's also check the configuration we have on here, if it's well configured. Yeah, I think this one looks already okay. So we can say save. So we move here and we go to the console. And I will try to start a new session and see if we can access the internet. Yes, you can see now we can access the internet from the 10.0.0.9 to, using 1.0.0 as a gateway. So both of these interfaces are not mapped with any IP address, right? These interfaces, this interfaces right here is not mapped, which is a 1/1, and the 1/2, which is inside, is not mapped with any IP address or MAC address. So this is just a configuration from this host using the 10.0.0.1 as a gateway for this host to access the internet. So this is when two interfaces are mapped as a virtual wire, which we say is a combination of interfaces for the flow of traffic. So if we go to our firewall to check the logs, you see now everything is committed, and now we can see, let's check our hit count. Yeah, our hit count is at 268. And now if we go to the monitor to check, let's do something here. Let's find a way to let's take that one out. Section, we need that. Let's take this guy, let's take that one out, let's take this guy out, let's take this guy out. Source dynamic address, we don't need that. So what we might need this guy. Also, I think I'd love to use a port as well. We can just do one more thing. Give me a second before we end today's class. Yeah, we can use, I like to use this. So I use it back sometimes. So we'll be good now. So we can move this here. I can move this here. And then also I can move this here. Right. So I can move these packets. I can move this packet here. Yeah, I can move this packet here. What is this? Okay, I can move the packet there. So let me move this guy here. Okay, packet science. Let's move it here. So let's packet science here. Move that here. Move that here. Then packet receive, so we can move this guy here. All right, we're good now. Okay, so you can see it's coming from trust to untrust on this IP address, and it's in a folder to the 2 is running on this. This is the byte, and this is it. So this one kind of tells us that 3-way handshake is established, and the same thing there. And it's running on the port 53, and it uses in DNS, and you can see all that, right? I can even make these ports come close to yeah, I can make it close to right. It's not moving, it move. Okay, it should move now. Yeah, we can make this guy. Make this guy. Yeah, we're good. Action, we can make action here as well. Rule, yeah, we can make the rule. Yes, sir. Yes. Session, we can make session. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the application. We can make application close to the ports. That's where we arrange it. Yes, we're good now. So you can see that everything seems to be perfectly okay. We can get from this source with 10.0.0.2 to the 10.0.1. So that will be our class for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to follow me, like and subscribe. Thank you for having me. I'll see you later.